You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Each episode is packed with simple tips and inspiring insights from the Productive Therapist team to help you grow your practice and have fun doing it. So without further ado, let's help you get more done and have more fun.
Hello, and welcome back to the Productive Therapist Podcast. So glad that you're here listening to this episode today, which I think honestly is a fantastic episode. I just had a great conversation with my guest, Kat Love, who's the founder of Empathy Sites and a business and marketing coach for therapists. For over a decade, actually 11 years, Kat and her team have helped therapists build websites that truly reflect who they are and get the right clients to say, yes, this is my therapist. She knows firsthand how life-changing therapy can be, and that personal experience is actually what drives everything she does. We get into some really interesting topics, or at least I think so. And we also talk about our mutual fondness for copywriting, logos, calls to action, and all of these fun things in the service of helping you connect with more of your ideal clients. So please take a listen, keep listening, I should say, and enjoy the rest of the episode. Hello, Kat. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that we're talking today. Favorite topic, and somebody that I've known for quite a while, but we have not met in person like a lot of my online friends, but we will someday.
Yes, someday.
Yes.
We were just saying someday.
Yeah, because we're literally not that far from each other, which is awesome. Yeah. So I know you and I have known each other professionally online for a little while. However, I would love to hear a little bit of your origin story and like, how did you become the person that you are today doing the things that you're doing in 2026?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 2026.
Right?
Because that means that I've been doing this for almost 11 years.
Wow.
And 11 years ago, I started this whole journey of helping therapists with their websites because I decided to niche, just like a lot of therapists do. Choose, who do you want to focus on? I knew I wanted to make websites. I didn't know who. And it was very actually easy for me to choose therapists as my niche because I'm a sexual abuse survivor and therapists have helped me so much over the course of my life, really survive CPTSD and the intensity of all of that recovery. So, yeah, I'm just super grateful to therapists. I couldn't think of a better person in the world to support.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I see that in a lot of your posts online too, where you're coming at things from an angle of, I've been a client, and I have had that experience, and now I help therapists. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it really brings like a groundedness to your work because you're not just a web designer who's like, let's see, spin the wheel. I'm going to pick dentists, right? This is meaningful for you, which is really cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. You want to hear something funny? Back in the day, when I was like accruing hours to get my license as an MFT here in California, I worked for a friend's company that did digital marketing. And so I learned for $12 an hour, I think it was, I learned how to, build some basic websites, do some SEO. I learned about like a little bit of Facebook marketing. And it was actually really helpful for me, especially when I started my private practice in 2008. And then fast forward a couple of years, I was, hyped on learning and sharing with my therapist friends like I am now. And so I put out this offer to my local community and I said, hey, anybody that needs a website, come to this place on this date and time, pay me $150 and I'll show you how to start a WordPress website from scratch, which was easy for me, but definitely a heavy lift for my therapist friends. But I thought that was very funny and ambitious that I did that all those years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what we're about, right? Like you and I both. We're like, how do we empower these amazing people who are out there doing the work and help them basically reach more people, right? I think obviously you build websites and help with marketing, and with Productive Therapists, we're helping folks with intake and client care. So two sides of the equation there that work really nicely together. Which brings us to our topic, which is call to action on your therapy website. I actually love this topic so much because I don't know why, but conversion optimization is like
Yes.
a weird passion of mine just because it's fun and interesting, right? Is that how you feel too?
I mean, I love all of it, to be
Yeah.
honest. I love
Yeah.
all of it. I mean, because there's so many aspects that go into a website. So it's also like, when somebody first lands there, how they feel and the environment and hope that you can inspire in someone and like that whole journey,
When it
the
all comes
cult.
together.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Obviously, it's not just the buttons, although we do like buttons.
I do love them.
Yes. So, for people listening who've never heard CTA, call to action, give us just like a basic definition of what that is for a website.
Yeah, so a call to action is a clear next step that you're inviting your website visitor to take in order to start therapy with you. So for most therapists, it's going to be things like um, a first call, like a free consultation call, or a first session. And then there are various ways that you can invite them to take that next step and like practically too, right? Is it
Hmm.
filling out a form? Is it picking up the phone? Do you just have an email link? So there are different ways that the call to action can also like initiate and encourage that next step to even happen.
Right. Yeah. And therapists are not unique, but in a service-based sort of business, the first thing to do usually is to reach out to some degree, right? Like other businesses have other first steps, but for a service-based business, it's usually something like schedule an appointment or fill out a form, like you said, to reach out, get in touch, to inquire about services. That makes sense. Yeah. So I know this might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I do like to talk about like what not so good looks like before we talk about what good looks like. So like
Yes.
what are the common mistakes you see when you're maybe reviewing somebody's website or whatever that looks like? Yeah, what do you see out there that you're like, "Ooh, maybe not that."
Yes. It's really interesting, this question, because I think where your mind might automatically go with it is like, maybe a therapist is writing it wrong or, they are asking for, a contact form when that's more complicated than it should be or something like that. But I think the actual number one top mistake that I
Hmm.
actually see is when it's absent, when there's
Okay.
absolutely no call to action on the website at
Right.
all. And it's interesting because after doing this for 10 years, I feel like I really have such a witnessing of how adverse some
Mm.
therapists are to making sales.
Ask for the sale, right? It's hard to do.
Yes. And so I get it that it can feel really like salesy or pushy, and that's like the last thing that most therapists want to feel like when they're on their
Mm-hmm.
website.
Mm-hmm.
But a like gentle reframe that I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
offer is um that it's actually the most compassionate thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kind of analogy that I'd love to give is like, imagine you're walking down the street and someone trips and falls and breaks their ankle. You're not going to go up to them and say, wow, you broke your ankle, turn around and walk the other direction.
Sure.
Like, you're never like, that is not the compassionate thing to do. The
Mm-hmm.
compassionate thing to do is hold out your hand, say, wow, you must be in a lot of pain. Here's how to get to the hospital, or I'll walk with you. I'm going to actually accompany you. Here, I have my car's right here. Let me drive you to the hospital. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing when you have a call to action on your therapist website. You're
Mm.
seeing someone in immense pain, and saying, here's how to get help.
That makes a lot of sense. And I like that analogy. So it's really kind of like a bridge from their problem to your solution to some degree,
Yes.
right? And you are acting as the guide, which is a helper sort of role that we are in. You know, it's so interesting. I did not expect you to say lack of call to action at all, but that makes sense. Now I'm going to look for that when I look at websites. I'll be like, okay, what do I do now? What's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't want to
Yeah.
leave people wondering, right? Like, okay, this sounds great. This feels like maybe the right person, the thing that I'm looking for. But and then they have to think too hard and like search too hard for what to do next. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a phone number on a contact page, and you're just hoping they magically know that that's the thing to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like playing hide and seek, or something like that. Yeah. It's interesting. If I was to pick one mistake that I see most often, it's the exact opposite. It's actually too many calls to action and too many
Mm,
different calls to action. So
Yes.
it's like, read my blog, schedule an appointment, contact us. And sometimes in one, in the above the fold section or just one section of the site, it's like, wait, there's like 4 or 5 things to do here. Like, what
Yes.
do I choose? And in reality, only one of them matters the most.
Yes.
So I see that. I see that often. And my personal preference, I don't know if you would agree with this, but is to have basically on a home page, basically the same call to action, almost with nothing else, just one thing. And I know that could be obnoxious, but I think it works in a lot of situations. At least that's my take.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think it's definitely a mistake to have too many. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason it gets confusing is because there is a lot that you can encourage a website visitor to do, right? If you're putting your effort into
Right.
writing your blog post, or like, oh my God, I'm investing all this into this great blog. I want everyone to read it. Or, you do have like an email list that you want people to subscribe to. Same thing, you're um, expending all these resources and energy towards it. But that's more of like your excitement than what is the best thing for filling your practice with your website.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
think the ultimate call to action is going to be whatever that next step is for them to actually start therapy, rather than, yeah, read a blog or get a newsletter.
Yeah. And those things, I mean, I think you'll agree with me. Those things are important as well. So for someone to get to know their potential future therapist, like that's helpful to like hear their
Yes.
voice and hear from them, and even get emails from them potentially is really helpful for them getting to that place where they're ready to click the button, fill out the form. I need therapy next week, that kind of thing. Yeah. So can we do like a little quick round of these are Kat's principles for CTAs that I had AI pull from all your content, and then you can tell me if you still agree or you don't agree.
Oh my God, did you actually do that?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do my
Yes.
homework. I mean, AI does my homework. Yeah. So pulled out some bullet points,
Okay. Yes.
and tell me if you agree or disagree on these. Probably not hot takes, but these takes. Okay. So number one, calls to action should be an extension of empathy, not a demand.
Yes. It's
What
kind of
does that What does
similar to
that
what
mean? I guess
what
what
we
you were
were.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I guess it's also like the energetic of it. Like if you're in that guiding
Mhm.
energy, then it's going to be also aligned with the empathy you feel for their pain.
Yeah. What would be a demand or like a too forceful call to action? I don't think therapists would likely do that, but what would that look like? By now, I guess,
Um,
something like that. That kind of energy.
Yeah, maybe by now, or I think sometimes overpromising sometimes comes through too.
Yeah,
Not very often, again, because therapists tend towards um, gentleness around sales. Let's
definitely.
put it like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. Okay, next one. Button text. 5 words or fewer. Start with an action word.
I don't know why I said five. That might have been outdated. I think even 2 words or fewer, the fewest
Yeah,
words possible. It really
yeah.
should just be the word free and
Mm,
something. So well,
right.
I guess if it's a first session, it's going to be book your session.
Yeah. I like free
But
consultation, but then there's no action word. So I do like the idea of putting an action word, like book your free call or something like that.
it just gets long for a button.
It does. Yeah, it
So
does.
it could be like a
Book
headline
now.
or
Mm,
subheadline and then a
hmm.
button
Right. Right.
that says start or something like that. But I think,
Okay.
yeah,
Tell me what
there's
you think about this
nuance.
one. Oh, for sure. And there's none of these are right or wrong per se. It's just about like what clicks and connects with your ideal client, basically. The one that I used for a long time on intunefamily.com was get help today. So
Mm,
kind of vague, but also, I mean, action oriented for sure. It doesn't say what the next thing is, but it indicates that it's going to lead you to getting support.
hell.
I kind
Yeah.
of like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I like it.
think it worked pretty well. Okay, next one. At least one call to action per page. Layer smaller calls to action that lead to one big one.
Yeah. So you can sometimes layer calls to action. And what I mean by that is, uh, for instance, the very first thing that they see on the homepage, maybe that's not the time to offer them a free consultation.
Mm-hmm.
So the layered one would be read about us or go see what services we offer, because they're going to need to walk down that. pathway in order to
Sure.
decide and consider
Yeah,
if you're the right fit.
definitely. That makes sense. Yeah, my my like if I held rigid to my principle of like only one call to action the whole page, like that doesn't always make sense or work because we do want to be like meet the team and read about how we help people with PTSD and those kinds of things because they are relevant. Even more so if you have a niche with a client that everything on that page will be relevant. And even so, they'll sort through and figure out what they want to click. But okay, next one. I had a thought that I want to ask you about, but I'll save that one. Okay, this one seems obvious, but I have a thought about this one. Avoid pop-ups and intrusive timing. Premature call to action is like shouting at a visitor without warning. Pop-up on a therapy website? Yes or no?
No,
Yeah,
I'm still not a fan. I'm still not a fan. I know I wrote that a while ago. Um, but I feel like I'm not a fan of pop-ups or animations, but especially pop-ups that are like,
sure.
in the middle of you reading something. And I think
It's
it's
rarely ever like the actual
because,
perfect timing, right? It's not like,
yeah,
oh, that's what I was looking for.
yeah, it's very interruptive
Mm-hmm.
by design. It's like that's what they're supposed to do. So it's doing its job if it's interrupting someone. And I think that works for other types of industries. But
Yeah.
for mental health, we're trying to consider that someone who's landing on your website is in a lot of stress
Mm-hmm.
and they're not in that energy of, like, I like to think of a concept called cognitive load.
Mm-hmm.
They're already under a lot of cognitive load because of their stress. And so when we are doing website design, this is actually like a UI design principle. It's like we are managing cognitive load at any
Mm-hmm.
given time of our user. Um, and I think that things like animations and pop-ups and other interrupting features can really,
Yeah.
they add to the cognitive load.
Definitely. And that's fine in my mind if you are, I don't know, what's a good example? If you're like a website with a bunch of recipes for, like easy meals or something like that. That's the person on that page is like about discovery and like newness and like, ooh, what is that? Ooh, what is that? But it's a different kind of client journey when someone's looking for a therapist, right?
Yes.
They're not wanting to be bombarded with all kinds of different content. So that makes a lot of sense. When you say animations, what are you referring to? Like sliders or something else?
Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
carousels,
Mm-hmm.
sliders, like the ones that are automatically rotating.
Right.
Often I stay away from that because another thing that I found in my research is that in our cognitive neuro brains,
Mm-hmm.
we are drawn to paying attention to things that move because they're potential
Sure.
threats.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the
That's
neurobiology of it.
interesting.
And
Right.
so it's like, you know, the guy on the corner holding up the sign that he's like flipping around and saying, go get a car wash at our car wash place. Like the
Mm-hmm.
reason your eye goes to that is because it's moving around and it could be a threat, especially when you're like driving and you're already trying to pay attention to things. Um, so it's like that response can be leveraged. The threat response can be
Mm-hmm.
leveraged and
Mm-hmm.
it can work for filling a car wash.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly, again, the most compassionate thing to do in the case of a therapist website. So I usually um, recommend against putting threatening
That,
things on your
yeah.
website.
Threatening motion graphics. That's a very interesting point. And also, it's just distracting. Like, I think about the Productive Therapist website a couple of years ago, and for several years, I had this, what I thought was really clever, right? Like, on the hero section of the top of the homepage had this background video of a person typing on a computer, like a productive therapist, right? And I was like, I just thought it was really cool. And then, at some point I realized the most important thing on that part of the website is the headline, is the words on the page, not this cool video that's playing in the background. So I
Yes.
changed it to a static image so that people wouldn't sit there, because we'll watch if there's motion, we're going to sit there and be like, well, that's the most important thing happening here.
Yeah.
But it's not in most cases, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do love, though, I will say, when people can opt into it, especially with things like
Mm-hmm.
video. So if
Yeah.
you have like an intro video of yourself in the top of the page, but there's a play button and they can say, oh,
I
I
like that.
do want to play this.
Right.
So that's a solution for your animation that
There
you want
you
to put.
go. There you go. I like it. I like it. Before we continue, I want to tell you about my product, Simple Intake. As a longtime practice owner, I always had the same problem. Too many inquiries were slipping through the cracks. So I built the solution. Simple Intake is an all-in-one mental health CRM that actually works. It responds to inquiries in seconds with an AI receptionist, follows up automatically, and schedules consultations 24/7. So your clinicians stay booked, you stop losing new clients, and you finally get your time back. You can see it in action at productivetherapist.com/simple intake. All right, let's get back to the episode. Okay, last one, and then we'll move on to something else. Communicate the benefit of clicking, not just what to do.
It's space dependent. So in some places that you might put a call to action, like if you're putting something in your header, that's not going to have a lot of more space than half a sentence. But places like the end of a page or the contact page, especially an FAQ page, these are pages where you have space to have an entire paragraph if you want. And
Sure.
that paragraph should anticipate the concerns and the questions that might hold someone back from clarity of what that next step is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be things like, what are we going to talk about? Like, is this going to be like an obligation, right? Like, am I opting
Right.
into doing therapy if I do this free call? Um, and some of the questions could be also specific to your niche as well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
things like
Mm-hmm.
couples therapy, it's like, oh, do I do the free call, or do we both do the free call? How's that going to work? Right. So you can really lay the whole call out in a way that uh, actually reduces the friction of signing up for the free thing.
I like that. Yeah. I always get stuck talking too much about features instead of benefits, right? Because
Mm,
like the fact that the call is 15 minutes is not a benefit, that's a feature. The fact that it's free is a benefit, I suppose. But yeah, like you said, what's going to happen on that call? What is the next step? What's the result? What am I committing to? So making it clear how that works and what they can expect is really smart. And I like what you're saying too, because I sometimes think about calls to action as like 2 words or less on a button, but there's other things around that sort of support the actual action step, and it's good to like you said, layer those, or like I read that you said. That's good. That's really good stuff. So when it comes to like solo practice versus group practice, are there anything that changes between those two for calls to action on the website?
yeah, for sure. Because I noticed that a lot of solo practices being solo, it's mostly like, you know, get a free call with me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with a group practice at a certain scale, you will have like an administrator or an intake coordinator or someone that is kind of intercepting or even matching your website visitor to the right fit
Right.
therapist in your practice.
Right.
And so then you're like, wait a minute, we can no longer sell a free call with the therapist that is going
Mm-hmm.
to be their eventual therapist, especially if you do have a process for matching um, in place, which you most likely do at a certain scale. Um, so the calls to action become a little bit more nuanced when it's a group practice, and also a little bit harder to
Mm-hmm.
write,
Yeah.
I will say, because it's very easy for a group practice to go into here's how the process is mode rather than here's what you get mode.
Mm-hmm.
And what you really want to be writing your call to action to be is here's what you get mode, which is,
I like that.
you get matched. We'll take care of you.
Yes.
We'll listen to, what's going on for you and be really curious about that so that we really understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so things like that are more important than things like you're going to fill out a form, and then we're going to do an intake, and then we're going to see if you want to do an assessment. And then if you want to do an assessment, we'll schedule you in for an intake
Yeah.
with and so it's like that's the thing that kind of leaks through for a lot of group practices. But again, it's like so much better to be in that giving energy of like, here's what you're going to get. Here's how we're going to take care of you.
Such a good reminder. It really is. I just had a creative idea while you were talking. So, like on my site, it's always been something like "Get help today," right? And that goes. This is my favorite workflow for intake. But the call to action button goes to the contact page, and on the contact page, it says something like, "The fastest way to get matched with the best therapist is to, schedule the call."
Mm,
And then there's like, well, I've done it a couple different ways, but my favorite way actually is to have them fill out a short form, quite short. And then as soon as they fill out that form, they're immediately redirected to another page where they can find a date and time and schedule that call with my intake coordinator. But I just had this idea that, like, also in the age of AI, making it more human too. But like on one of those pages, the call to action could be something like talk to Tiffany. Who's Tiffany? Tiffany's our intake coordinator, and she is a genius at finding the best therapist for you. And then
yes.
have a picture of Tiffany, which I know Tiffany doesn't like to have her picture on the website, but but wouldn't that be nice if it was like almost overly, not overly personal. That's not the right word, but like very personal, very human, right?
Yes.
So it's
Human.
not just like book a call with our team. Who's the team? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. I think any opportunity to humanize this process
definitely.
is a is good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Direction
for
to go.
sure. It's interesting. We at Productive Therapist last year we launched Simple Intake, which is like an AI powered CRM for managing your entire intake process. And one part of that, it's not the only thing, but it's the thing I've talked about the most, is this AI receptionist. And so we do have these AI agents answering the phone for therapists and scheduling consultations with the human intake coordinator, which I think is amazing. But at the same time, it's just so interesting to see like therapists' response to that as well as their clients' response, also in different parts of the country, et cetera. I mean, the goal for us is to respond faster and get them to a human faster.
Yes.
Um, but there's an interesting sort of backlash against AI happening too. So, and it's fascinating. Nobody really wants to chat with AI unless it's like giving them a recipe or like, planning their vacation or building their website, I suppose. Yeah. Anyways, making it more human. I think I'm coming back to that because that's important. And the tools that we use, whether it's a website or an AI agent, are just in service of connecting a person to a person. Hopefully, that will be what we want for a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
need, certainly. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Are there any questions that I should ask you that I didn't ask you yet?
Oh, we didn't talk about like contact forms versus schedulers versus
Yes.
mail to links, because I get asked that question all the time when I making websites.
And what
Um,
is your common response?
well, I think the first thing to consider in that question is what can you handle operationally?
Mm-hmm.
Because a website is building a bridge from, you know, your marketing into your practice. And you need to make sure that bridge is supported by your actual behavior. Like what you were just saying
Yes.
about like, it's a real thing in sales that speed is a factor of efficacy of sales. So what that means is, if you are going to put a contact form on your website and encourage people to do that, but you are terrible at checking your email and you won't get back to someone for, 3 days, then that might not be the best option for you, in terms of efficacy. Um, and so I think the first question isn't even what does Kat recommend? It's
Mm-hmm.
what are you actually gonna respond to the quickest and be the most
Right.
easeful for you? Um, that said, I am a big fan of schedulers to
Mm-hmm.
a free consultation. I feel like that is the kind of golden thing to be able to do. But again, some therapists, I suggest that and they're like, I don't want people to schedule in my schedule without me knowing,
Yeah.
right? Or something
Yeah.
like that. Like I don't want other people, I need to have more control. Or it's also can sometimes be just another piece of software that you're just like, oh God, how many
Sure.
pieces of software do I need? Uh, so again, it's like it uh, depends on the therapist, I think. But schedulers, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan.
Me too. I have been for a long time, but your point is really well taken that like the call to action, the first step should be something that you can respond to and support, and it should be sustainable for you in your life or your team for that matter. And yeah, I've noticed over time, and at one point we did like a real deep dive, at least on my practice, on the conversion rates based on initial outreach method, right? And the scheduled consultation call had the most people show up and the most people become clients. Partially, I think, because, well, a couple of things. I think because they were able to complete an action when they're looking for a therapist. Because if you just leave a voicemail, you kind of just feel like you threw a rock into the water. You're not sure if it's going to come back. But if you schedule something and it's on your calendar, you feel like you did a thing. And then because there's reminders in those types of softwares, right? You're likely to show up. So that's always been my favorite too. But I also know that like some people might be based on their generation or their age would rather text the therapist, right? Or do something else. And you got to take that into consideration too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that you actually have data too.
Well, somewhat. Yeah. It's at least anecdotal. Right. Yeah.
No, but I'm
For
not
sure.
surprised because I feel like I've seen that, just witnessed that in across the therapists that use schedulers versus other methods. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It makes sense. We've noticed that as we've started to put these AI chatbots on people's websites, that people are interacting with them, and some of the practice owners are very surprised with how quote unquote popular they have been. It's just a really great way to get a basic question answer. What's the fee? Do you take Optum insurance? You know, this, that. What about your providers? And then the chatbot can also schedule those consultations and present the times available for the therapist or the intake coordinator. So I'm kind of a fan of that. And I haven't said this out loud to anybody or in public, but I think the chatbot is better than the AI receptionist at this point and more
Mm.
reliable. So that's what I'm discovering. It's going to get better. The voice AI is getting better for sure, but the chatbot is really good.
Yeah. 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 AI loves text that's typed.
100%. It's so true. Yeah, it's true. So tell us about your services and how people can get in touch with you. Because obviously in 2026, most people have a website, but a lot of people have a website that's either not functioning and actually bringing in the right clients, or they just dislike it strongly, or both. And
Yeah.
they likely need a refresh, or maybe a brand new site or new branding. Yeah, tell us about all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So at Empathy Sides, me and my team have been making therapist websites for 11 years. Um, we offer website design, but also the things that you would need to put on your site too. So we also do copywriting and logo design as well. So it's really one of the most supportive services you could find that really takes you through all of the things that you need. And then once we launch, we also support you as well.
That's wonderful. Random question, but what do you think is the importance of or the value of a logo for a therapist?
Ooh,
I love logos like so much.
yeah, yeah. I think logos kind of take you to another level of
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Mm-hmm.
So especially if if you want to charge a more premium fee, you want to look like you're serious about
Right. Right.
being in practice and that you've invested in how you present yourself. And so I think that a logo can really kind of put that polish on that you don't have when it's just a font.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Dr. Jeremy is great, but Dr. Jeremy with a cool logo is even better.
Mm, heck yeah.
My favorite line from your bio, I think, is this one. Kat's work focuses on creating websites that truly reflect who a therapist is, how they help, and that are wildly effective at helping right fit clients say, yes, this is the therapist for me. Because that's what we want, right? We want that
Yes.
connection, that moment to happen. We're like, oh my gosh, I think I found the person that's going to help me get where I want to go.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the feedback that we hear from our clients all the time is that, they come back to us like, a couple weeks after launching, a month after launching, and they say, Kat, you won't believe it.
Mm,
This client was coming in and said that they chose us because of our website. And
yes.
that's just like the best like feeling for me because I feel like I'm doing what I am setting out to do, which is
That's
ultimately
wonderful.
supporting therapists, but also supporting people like me who need their help.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. And there's so many brilliant therapists out there, and so many that are, I was going to say need new PR, but like if the website reflected the actual skill and ability and brilliance of that therapist, then the world would see more and be attracted to that and get what they need. So I think you are providing a wonderful service, being the guide in a sense, and creating that bridge for the therapist between where their website is and where they want it to be. And so that's awesome. Thank you for the work that you do for so long too. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for the work you do. I've been so happy to like be friends with you in this space of helping therapists.
Definitely. I'm coming up right behind you. We're in year 9. So I'm right there. I like the decade. Like once you've done something for 10 years, like you've done a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so empathysites.com to find out all the things, opt in and check it out. I highly recommend. Kat and her team are great at what they do, and everything that they put out there is full of heart and soul and good vibes. My teenagers would cringe if they heard me say that, but that's the truth.
It's okay.
Truth. Yeah, it's okay. I'm a dad. I can do that. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show, Kat. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me. Really had fun.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode. If you're looking for more personalized help, you can reach us through productivetherapist.com. Thanks so much for listening. We are Productive Therapist, and this is the podcast that helps therapists get more done and have more fun.